The Boston Celtics are the hottest team in the NBA, and I feel like there's no one close. Right now, they're currently number one offense, averaging 120.8 points per game. Number three, field goal percentage at 49.3. Number one in point differential, spanking up ass by plus 8.8 points. Their record is 21-5, best record in the league. They have six players in double digits, and they have a leading MVP candidate, what most people might say, in Jason Tatum, and a great running mate in Jaylen Brown as well too. What do you kind of attribute to their success right now, man?
Off the top of my head, right now it's just chemistry. Like they've been playing since I know it seems like Braun has been in a Laker uniform for a minute. It's been like 4 or 5 years, but like they really started their careers battling LeBron in the conference finals, bro. So like when you think about that and then getting to the finals last year and losing, like they've all grown up and seen the fight together. And I just think now, who the general manager is now? Now that it's not,
the former coach,
Brad Stevens. Yeah. Brad Stevens is doing a great job putting role players around them now that are just filling in the gaps now. And I don't even think Danilo Gallinari is playing for them yet.
Towards ACL, yeah.
Yeah. So like, I mean, it's just chemistry, and then also, having an MVP candidate helps a lot. Obviously, I feel like Jason makes everybody's job easier, and he's starting to make that extra pass now to make his job even easier with finding teammates. And it's like I said, the number one thing chemistry wise, I just think that's off the charts. And then their defense too. I've seen them lock up in games when they need stops, and it looks good. So Boston number one. I could see that for sure.
And I agree with you. And then just to kind of piggyback off of that, health is also the biggest thing, and there's been a lot of teams I've seen in the East and Western Conference where players have kind of been in and out the lineup. Mm-hmm. Obviously, they haven't been with Robert Williams, but Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown have been relatively pretty healthy with that core group as well.
Yep.
I was kind of shocked that they were going to be 21-5 just because they brought in that new head coach to replace Ime Udoka. But like you said, they've been together and been battle tested for such a long time. So they're kind of just picking up from where they left off at. And then I think, I don't know if Ime Udoka's behind the scenes because of everything that kind of happened to him, but obviously their coach, I can't think of his name. You know his name?
No. And I was going to ask you, how important is coaching in the NBA today, do you think?
I think it's extremely important, but I feel like picture like an intern learning, from, whoever in the business the whole time. They're constantly soaking knowledge, and he was an assistant under them as well too. So I'm sure he's had this whole off season to kind of figure out what works, what didn't work, and what didn't work, he's going to improve on that. So I think it's definitely important. I think it's just one of those things where it's kind of like a Mark Jackson, Steve Kerr situation.
Gotcha.
You obviously players taking upon themselves to improve, but you add a little bit of more sprinkle into what was already successful, and you kind of roll with that as well too. Gotcha. Now the biggest test I think what we're going to see is in the playoffs when you're playing and game planning against one team for 2 weeks.
Yep.
What adjustments are you going to make at halftime, and what adjustments are you going to make game by game as well too? So that's the biggest thing that I'm kind of worried about. But other than that, like these players were 2 games away from winning the championship.
Yep.
So that's all that's on their mind. That's all they hear from the tabloids, from social media, when they walk on the street, in the stands, everywhere they go. Yep. Damn, you'll get back, or damn, you could have made that. So I know they're motivated right now, honestly, as well, too. So with that being said, with the Celtics, man, would you say that Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum are the best duo in the NBA currently right now?
Best duo in the NBA. I mean, right now, yeah. But I would say this, though, always. Okay. A healthy LeBron and AD is the best duo in the NBA, bro. I'm sorry. It is. I'm sorry.
Even with LeBron at this advanced age?
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. I mean, that's a tough one because LeBron, like, obviously he's taking a step back from a defensive standpoint, but he really has no flaw in his game from the offensive standpoint. He's always going to be that playmaker, and AD's always dominant, but if we're just going off of this season, definitely go with Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum,
for sure.
Best two-way wings, and they're young, and they stay healthy. So I really like that as well too. And then with the Celtics, I mean, who do you think are their biggest threats? In the Eastern Conference as they embark on this journey to try to stay try to stay afloat.
Yeah, for me, it's always going to be Milwaukee and Cleveland. I'm going to keep banging on this door because I know they're going to be there at the end, man. I think Milwaukee, obviously, because of Giannis, he's freaking, and I mean, their whole team's good, but like he's the player that, again, when it comes down to like, okay, I have a great player and then Boston has a great player, I'm gonna take Giannis over Jason in a playoff series situation, and I think that can still be their Achilles heel, like when it comes to getting back to the finals. I really like Cleveland guard play, and that's why I continue to talk about them, because I feel like in a playoff situation, like it's about how many good shots can you get versus the other team, in their defense. And Boston's defense is really, really good, but to have, good guard play helps you, alleviate that in a way, and like attack matchups, things like that in that nature. And I think ultimately Boston would beat Cleveland in a 7-game series, but I think they would keep it interesting. But those are my two teams out east that give me pause. And then, I mean, I hate it because I always want to give Joel Embiid love, but they're never healthy enough. So
it's that Doc Rivers effect, man.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you. Milwaukee Bucks first and foremost, and we're going to talk about a little bit later with Chris Middleton's return. Giannis literally took them 7 games last year with no Chris Middleton, up 3-2. So I imagine times where they needed to close, he would have been right there. Times to kind of neutralize Jaylen Brown's scoring production, Chris Middleton could have been like that as well too, especially in Pfizer Arena. I don't know if you looked at the stats on Chris Middleton in the Pfizer Arena, he'd be looking like Michael Jordan. That joint be kind of crazy. I do like the Cavs just off the simple fact that they have a dog in Donovan Mitchell that's been in the playoffs and played in high leverage moments as well too. And I like their length as well too. And I feel like their length would definitely bother Boston a little bit as well too. But the fact that they all haven't been there together as a tandem in the playoffs, I think that's going to be their Achilles heel. Right. I'm curious to see how their coach as well too adjusts as well. And then as much as I love that backcourt, they only 6 feet 6'1", and they're not the most defensively gifted, or they don't give that much effort on the defensive end as well too. So like you said, it comes down to, can you play defense? Can you score in the half court? And then when you're in the half court, when you get that switch, what you gonna do with it? And I think both of them can do a great job, but I just think that Boston, like you said, is the superior team from the defensive standpoint. So they're gonna, I think, at the end of the day, get better shot selections and then get easy points in transition as well too. So that's going to be interesting. And I also think, and we talked about that before we start recording, I mean, even though the Nets got swept last year, all the games are relatively pretty close. And like, I don't even take anything from the regular season as well too. That felt like a playoff game. They both had 8-man rotation, pretty much went down to the wire. You know, if KD don't have that much turnovers or Kyrie just plays a little bit better, who knows how it would have went. But Ben Simmons didn't play. Ben Simmons been playing relatively well as of late. That's another body that you can add to Jason Tatum and also to Jaylen Brown as well too, to at least help make the shots a little bit more difficult. And a lot of times KD's bringing the ball up the court. That's Ben bringing the ball up the court as well too. So I feel like if you put him in the mix, he's relatively pretty healthy. They still need another big because Claxton's not. He's solid, but they need someone else. And I feel like there's still a player like a Dwight Howard, like a DeMarcus Cousins out there as well too. So if they can get one of them and try to potentially trade for like another 3-and-D, I think they're in the mix too. And I'm never, ever, ever going to count out the Miami Heat. The Miami Heat, you can consider that their biggest rival these past couple of years as well too, given the bubble history obviously, and then given this past postseason run as well too. I know it's been a little shaky. Jimmy been out the lineup, Tyler Hero been out the lineup, Kyle Lowry been out the lineup, Bam been out the lineup, but I feel like once they finally get healthy,
a lot.
Exactly.
You just said
exactly been out the lineup. It's early. Only a game or two outside of 500. They're going to make that run, and that's going to be a scary team, I think, for them as well too, just from an X and O standpoint as well. But
okay. So would you take Brooklyn before Cleveland as a contender?
Just off of KD being the god, yes.
Okay.
I'm taking them.
Okay.
In the 7 games, that would be a lit ass 7-game series. But
Mhm.
I'm taking Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, Ben Simmons, and those role players over them in 7 games. They'll probably go
Gotcha.
7 games, but I'll take them.
Got you.
You taking
Okay.
Cleveland?
Yeah.
Well, we might have to make another bet if
Yeah.
they're all healthy.
Yeah.
But
I'm a believer. I don't know why. I just like their team.
I like them too, but I just feel like something's missing. I don't know. And I've seen a lot of games this year. Granted, they have a great record, but a lot of their games they lost. You can tell like they felt like they were playing like a young team. They didn't know how to close, but we'll see what happens with that as well too.